Hello, welcome to another video on getting software installs for HasTools. In this video, I will be specifically talking about how to install Git on Windows machines. If I have the ability to get a Mac OS install working, I will create another video walking through these steps for Mac OS. And with that, let's just dive right in. I'm in my web browser. I will go to the bar here and just go for git install. You can just search this out. It will bring you to gitscm.com. That's where we want to go, and go for downloads. And we'll be met with this page for Git, which is going to be our version control software, which is basically track changes for code and other sorts of text-based documents. And so in this case, I said I am going to be on Windows, and it automatically kind of has it over here, which is a little bit hard to see, but you can also select what you have there. So I'm just going to go ahead. For almost all cases, it will give you the right thing as the first link. So download for Windows, click to download, and it will get itself going. So this will take a little bit of time. It's not a large program, but once we have it, I'm on Chrome, so I can just click the open when done, although I think I was too slow. So instead, I will open my file explorer and go to downloads, and finally go to this installer and open it up. So this computer I'm on is a little bit slow right now, but this will walk us through the steps. And once we're going with the installer, I can walk you through everything you need to do to get this working. Okay. Wow. I may have broken this computer. Here we go, finally. Okay, we'll ask you for if you're allowed to make changes. I see I jumped the gun, so let's close out of one of these, and here we go. It will first ask you if you want to continue and accept the software license. As always, we accept it and don't read it. Then you can install it in the standard location. There's a lot of options here that you can choose, but we're not going to because the default is well configured. And we'll continue to do that. This step, however, you don't necessarily need to change this. It won't be terribly important. It may be nice for you at some point in the future if you do select to use Notepad as Git's default editor. It will just be a little bit simpler to use Git in its default form for you down the road if you choose this. If you don't, it's okay. So then we will just let Git decide. And again, we will use Git from the command line and also third-party software, which is what we will do in this case, because we will be hooking up Git to GitKraken, which is considered third-party software. Okay, and we're going to use the bundled OpenSSH. I will be explaining a little bit more about what or how to configure that, but OpenSSH is basically another program which is for securely transferring files between your computer and other things such as the cloud over the internet. That way, you know that your files aren't going to get corrupted or anything like that. So we're just going to use the bundled one. And similarly, OpenSSL is is something along the same lines. So I'm going to just use the default. And so this is something you also don't have to worry about, the line ending conversions. Just use the default. And again, the terminal emulator, which is something that we will not be using extensively in this class, but I will show very, very briefly here and give you some resources if you choose to look into this a little bit more in the future. So I'm just going to use the default min TTY, and I will also do the default for the behavior of git pull, which we'll be talking about in a future video as well. Finally, again, just choose the default, and again, choose the default. There's going to be a lot of this. And finally, you will get to a point where you can just hit install and it will do its thing. So we're going to let that run. And this will take a little bit of time, but shouldn't be too bad. And once it's done, we will verify that this works. And I will talk very, very briefly about this program that gets installed called Git Bash. So at a high level, Git Bash is two things. Git is the program that we're installing right now. However, it relies on this whole framework of command line infrastructure, which is just a text-based way of interacting with your computer. And Bash is a program that typically is used on Mac OS and Linux operating systems to do this interaction. So Windows is a little bit different than those two in the respect of if you ever open up a console, the kind of commands or programs that you can run in it are completely different than Mac OS and Linux. However, because a lot of things in the software engineering world are sort of trying to be all tied together, Git installs this version of Bash alongside of Git just to consolidate things and make it easier to talk between operating systems. Okay, so we did it. We installed Git, and I'm just going to select launch Git Bash right away so we can look at this, and I can just, demonstrate what it looks like to have a properly working install of Git. Okay, so we hit launch, and you will see something that probably looks like it's not working to you, but this is a good sign. From here, you can type whatever you'd like, of course, and this doesn't seem like it really does much. If you hit enter, it will claim that it is confused, command not found, and it's always prefixed by this bash thing, and then whatever you tried to run. In my case, a semicolon separated two things. But bash is the program that's running whatever you type in here. And so one of the things that bash can run is the underlying Git program. So I can just type in Git there, and this will basically spit out a whole bunch of stuff that you don't particularly need to know about, but this is really supposed to be a help message trying to explain how to use Git from the command line. And so we're not going to do this, but there are tons of resources out there about how to actually use Git from the command line. And this is something that if you, after this course, tend to continue to use Git for your work, I would recommend at least knowing a few things, such as the Git clone and init to start or get a new copy of your stuff, things like adding files, moving files, and so forth. And then finally, doing things like committing changes, which is basically saying, I've done something, please track this. Things like pushing and pulling, which are basically upload and download. So these are all commands that you can run by saying git something. So in the case of doing a If you want to start a new Git repository, you would type git init. And there you go. There's now a new Git repository started here. Well, this is still slightly unclear. If you get this help message, that means everything is done correctly and you are good to go. You don't actually have to type this git init command, and you don't have to do anything else with this command line window. So you can just close that up and close everything else up. And with that, I will see you in the next video where we will install Git Kraken and get that hooked up to your GitHub account. So basically how this works, this underlying Git program kind of coordinates the conversation between your computer and the cloud-based GitHub. And Git Kraken will be the interface through which we actually run this conversation. Okay, see you next time.